Hi class, today's lesson is lesson 7-9. Our purpose for today is to find the missing value in a percent problem. There's no vocabulary for today, but I do want you to go ahead and copy down this illustration. It says to find the percent of one number, to find the percent one number is of another, use this proportion. So I want you to copy this as well as this proportion. I'm going to explain this proportion here shortly. It is percent is to 100 as is to of. So percent over 100 equals is over of. Now how does this work? Well, here we have 30% of 60. So I'm going to go ahead and using this proportion as a model, I'm going to go ahead and put the percent, which is 30, right on top of the 100. Equal. So now we have one ratio over here. Now we're going to develop the other ratio over here. Now certainly we've taken care of the 30. Now what do we do with the 60? Well, here's the key. It says of 60. 30% of 60. So the of is right down here. So we're going to put 60 right down here. So 30% of 60, 60 is down here, is, and we're going to make that an x. Now we're just going to go ahead and do cross products. We have 100x over here, and we have 60 times 30, which is 1800 over here. Divide both sides by 100 to get rid of the hundreds. X drops down, and we have x equals 18. So 30% of 60 is 18. Next, we'll apply this to a word problem. It says, how many frozen yogurt cups are sold to teenagers each day? Well, here's a piece of information that we need in order to determine that. It says 45% of 420 frozen yogurt cups are sold to teenagers daily. So 45% of 420. Well, I know 50% of 420 is half of this amount. So I'm going to go ahead and estimate first. So half of 420, excuse me, 420 is, well, it's 210. So it's going to be it's going to be under 210. Half of 420 is 50%. We're only taking 45% of 420, which is going to be less than 210. So our actual answer, less than 210. Let's go ahead and go with percent over 100. Go ahead and write this down. That ratio equals is over of. Now we're going to go ahead and take that 45, place it over 100. Where does the 420 go? Well, it says of 420, so we're going to put it down in the denominator position, 420. Now we're simply going to go ahead and make the variable x here represent that is amount. With that said, we're going to go ahead and do cross products at this point. We have 100x equals 45 times 420. Now, in order to figure that out, we're going to go over to this side. It's 420 times 45. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 1 is 21. Now I'm going to put the 0 down here as a placeholder. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 4 is 16. 0, 0, 9, 8, 1. I have 18,900 at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. 100x equals 18,900. Now I've got to go ahead and divide both sides by 100 in order to get x by itself. The 100s drop off here. X equals 18,900 divided by 100 is simply taking away these zeros, and I have 189. Now, I look at my answer here. It's 189. Is it close to 210? Yes. And I estimated it to be less than 210. Is it less than 210? Absolutely. So my answer is 189 yogurt cups. 189 yogurt cups. Next. It says Heather is downloading a file from the internet. So far, she has downloaded 75% of the file. If the 30 minutes have passed since she started, how long will it take her to download the rest of the file? So far, Heather's downloaded 75% of this file. It's taken her 30 minutes since she started. How long will it take her to download the rest of the file? Now, I've read that twice just to make sure I understand it. Here we have a similar problem which we can use at proportion. Percent over 100 equals is over of. I'm going to go ahead and put 75 over 100. And here, 75% was translated to this ratio. Now, what to do with this 30 minutes? 30 minutes have passed since she started. How long will it take her to download the rest of the file? So 30 minutes, 75% of this number, this total number, is 30 minutes. So listen to that again. 75% of the total amount of time is 30 minutes. So that means I've got to put 30 up here. I've got to figure out what the total download time is here. 75% of some total number of minutes is 30. So I put 30 minutes up in this position. Now I'm going to go ahead and use cross products to find out what that total time is. 100 times 30 is 3,000. 75, in this case, we're going to call it x, 75x, right here. Now, in order to get the x by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 75. I'm going to over to the side, figure out how many 75s go into 3. Well, there's nothing. Into 30, well, 75 can't go into 30. How about 75 into 300? Well, I know there's going to be about 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 28, or 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30. Subtract that, bring the 0 down. 0 times 75 is 0. So I have no remainder, and my answer is 40. So x equals 40. 40 what? 40 minutes. 40 minutes total, but this doesn't answer our question. So 30 minutes is 75% of 40 minutes. That question asks, how long will it take her to download the rest of the file? So 40 is the total, and we've already spent 30 minutes, 75% of that time downloading the file. How many more minutes will it take? Well, it will take 10 more minutes. 40 subtract 30 is 10 minutes. Next, it says we got to find 20% of 150. I'm going to teach you a different method other than that proportional method, and it's one that you should be familiar with. It says 20% of 150. If we rewrite that as, well, what can 20% be? Well, in terms of a decimal, we know that 20% is 20 hundredths, 20 per 100, 20 hundredths. That can be written this way, 20 hundredths. We know of can be replaced with the operational value or operational sign of multiplication. 20%, 20 hundredths of, which is times, and then 150. So now all we need to do is multiply 150 times 20 hundredths, and we get 0, 0, 0. Put a 0 there for a place value. We get 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. We essentially get 3,000, but then we've got to put the decimal point in, and there's 2 place values here. So we move the place value 1, 2. That's 30. So 20% of 150 is 30. Okay, I know 75 is half of 150, that's 50%. So I know that this is a reasonable answer. It's certainly not more than half of 150 or 50%. 30 is our answer. This is your problem, or pair of problems. It says find 30% of 360. And you can either use the proportional method or the multiplication method. And then it says 25% of a number is 42. Find the number. Here is where I want you to go ahead and use the proportional method. Here you can use proportion or multiplication. All right, we'll see you in class.